All right, y'all, what's up? This is Ed Newbins. This is Motivated Life. This is our first show in the Motivated Life studio. We had some technical difficulties, like always, when you start out something new. But I have Dennis Comer in the house. He is from Central Area Collaborative. He's a really cool guy. I've known you for about a year and a half now, too. No, it's longer than that because of COVID.
Probably, yeah. It was pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID. So that's what, 2.5 years, 3 years. And been able to work with him and see what he does in the community. So I invited him on the show because he does a lot of things in our community that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. And I think his program and what he works on and what he stands for really helps our community alive. So more people need to know about what you do,
Sure.
who you are, things of that nature. So what's up, Dennis?
Hey, not much, man. Just sitting there chilling, trying to get used to the snow since I was just coming out of LA.
Oh, that's right.
Not 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is hurting me. But yeah, I'm the executive director for the Central Area Collaborative, and one of the things that we do is a lot of behind the scenes stuff that sets up success for other organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first thing I wanted to point out is I think our biggest success in the collaborative was the Central Area Design Guidelines. And for those that don't know, in the Central Area, which is redlined, I think everybody knows it's redlined. That's where all the black folks had to live. They couldn't live anywhere else in Seattle.
Right.
What nobody knew was Jackson was a dividing line. So developers could come in and they could build whatever they wanted south of Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And the design review board was being held in Columbia City. So there was no way anybody in the Central Area, not only did you not know what was going on,
Right.
you couldn't protest or say what you wanted to say. North of Jackson, they were going to Capitol Hill's design review board. The Central Area did not even have a design review board,
Wow.
period.
Okay.
Now, the city has design guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Every neighborhood had them. Central Area did not have any design guidelines.
So what does that mean, though, for the Central Area? There's like left in limbo and no representation?
That was exactly what's going on. All the way up to, I would say 2016.
Okay.
The problem is, when we did the research for that,
Mm-hmm.
we found out Elder Robert Stevens had Central Area Design Guidelines back in 1998, 2000, could never get them passed. City Hall would not see them. City Council wouldn't. So they had them. They were just thwarted, whatever that looks like. So one of our first projects was...
But we're in Seattle, though. It's very liberal hill, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, our first program, 2016, was let's see what we can do with these Central Area Design Guidelines, neighborhood design guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the process. There were like 5 organizations, Central Area Land Use Review Committee, the Historical Central Area Arts and Cultural District, the Collaborative, 23rd Avenue Act. These are all like low key, low underground groups of, community residents, not necessarily even organizations, just organized because they come together to do stuff.
Uh-huh.
But they all came together for 2 years. We hammered out design guidelines.
Okay.
Came up with them. We had Mimar Studios, which was Donald King as an architect, was a consultant. You had Grace Kim and Schemata.
Mm-hmm.
They were like the architects that put it together. But we got through the process in 2 years, came up with some design guidelines, took them to the city, and got an ordinance passed.
Okay.
That's what it eliminated the block, the north and south of Jackson. It unified the Central District. So any developer that comes in, you're going to a Central District Design Review Board, and it created the board.
Okay.
So that's where you see like the pushback and folks coming together and doing the outreach.
Mm-hmm.
That was all because that was a Central Area Collaborative project. We just said, let's take it on and see what we can do.
Oh, so you guys, so you guys, you're not getting credit for you guys a lot of stuff they did.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's other groups.
Didn't even know about that.
Right. And so when you fast forward to, let's say the Liberty Bank building,
Right.
and you look at Midtown Plaza with Lake Union Partners,
Right.
that whole 23rd and Union core.
That's the old Red Apple. Is that
No.
Oh, no, that's the other way.
It's further up where Africatown had Umoja Peace Center on the corner.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They had the little laundromat and all the other stuff.
Yeah, the
post
haircut
office.
spot. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, some of the backstory on that is that property was owned by the Bangassers.
Who were there?
People that they own the property.
Okay.
So they own that property. It's satisfied. For what the use that it had over the years. It was great. The problem was you could only build up to 2 stories high. You notice there was nothing high.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was never anything.
I used to
high.
walk by there.
Right.
I used to go to East Madison YMCA. We used to have Richlands down there. I mean, everything was like a low level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 2 stories.
And so when the city came through to do upzoning, you had to get community input. So the community says we will allow upzoning if there's some community benefit to it. Because it doesn't us no good if the developers get to build as many apartments as they wanted to.
Right.
And so the agreement with the powers that be is, okay, you can upzone the whole corridor, 23rd Avenue. There has to be some community benefit. The folks that were in that meeting stated that the community benefit would be for the benefit of Africatown and everything that they were doing. Now, Africatown was not at this meeting, but the community felt if anybody's doing anything or should get a chance to bolster their mission, it should be Africatown because of what they were doing with the Emoji Peace Fest, Peace Center on the corner,
right,
and Earl's and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, hey, and they were the only ones doing anything. So that's how the upzone got passed. And in doing that, once the upzone got passed, the Bangashers property went from worth X millions of dollars to a whole lot more because now you can build up
vertical,
exactly. And so that's what started the development. So the first people to buy that were Lennar Homes. Lennar, big nationwide, and they were going to put the same building that's there now at Midtown was owned by Lennar. And they were going to do the same thing. The problem is, at those design reviews, they couldn't appease the public. They were like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And these are out-of-state owners. They don't know the local. They're not
in touch with the
local. And the community was like, nope. They got frustrated. Now, across the street is Lake Union Partners, who is kind of local. And they're sitting there watching this. So they're understanding what needs to happen and what kind of appeasements and, conciliations need to be made in the community in order for that to happen. That's why Africatown has the back half. It's like all that community.
So they figured out what
other folks wouldn't do, and they're like, we're going to incorporate that. We're going to, and it's the right thing to do, for the ethnic community. Yeah, exactly. Listen. And that's exactly what they did. And now you see what's happening. You've got Liberty Bank.
Right.
You've got Midtown Plaza. You've got Africatown on the back. But like I said, nobody understands who shaped that battle. I would say shape that battlefield so that the wins could be happening further down the road.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think, because I know I grew up in the Central District from, I think it was 83 when I moved from Spokane. And I noticed that, too. As a kid, I noticed that we didn't have a lot of development. I go out to North Seattle because they busted us. So you see the difference. And I always thought about it like, as I learned about redlining as I was older, even my sister, she did a paper with redlining when she was at UW. And a lot of those covenants are still on the books as of the time that she was in school. It wasn't too long ago. And so many people are benefiting now from the upzoning that you said. Why wasn't that done before? Or is that just something that was always being blocked on, because...
Well, actually, I think the upzoning, that probably came up maybe 7 to 10 years ago when the city's bursting at the seams. There's only certain places you can go. The central area is as closest to the downtown area as as you can get.
Right.
And it's like, we got to figure out a way to increase the density there. And so
this kind of sucks though, because we had a community, and then it's like you couldn't build up.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, when other people were there, now all of a sudden you could build up, and now all these properties that were mom and pop properties now turn into these multi-million-dollar megaplexes situations.
Exactly. So that's those are the trade-offs of the gentrification and the upzone and this, that, and the other. But again, at the end of the day, there was some community benefit. When you don't have a big hand, you got to play the hand you have. And the hand we had was, make sure Africatown and those that are in that, Bird Bar place, those that are in that area that are operating in that nonprofit, make sure they get some benefit. Even if the collaborative didn't get any benefit out of it, it's like, I don't work that. That's not my mission.
Right.
My mission is to help set it up and, get folks to where they need to get and allocate resources and try to help as best we can. But,
you remind me, like, when I go around, I try to implore people to know more about you and what you guys do. And I just talked to a gentleman the other day, and it was about follow through. And I said, yeah, part of the issue is like, it doesn't matter how many people I might introduce you to or for them to know who you are, they might not have followed up with you. And I know we've had conversation with that too. It's like a lot of things that you guys work on, you guys, what are some other projects you guys funded in the area? So I know you guys done some, I know what the most recent one is.
I think one of the most recent ones is two years ago. Now, we did it this past year, but 2 years ago, Seattle hit one of the hottest days, and everybody was dying. Well, we have a child care center in the central area at Lois Martin runs.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, it got super hot. We're like, well, why don't we have AC in some of these child care? What's that look like?
Right.
Nobody did anything. She came to me and asked me, hey, is there anything we can do? So I said, I tell you what, you guys go get some bids on and she got bids, and it won like 6 figures to put in some air conditioning. Somebody else came in a little bit less than that, and I'm looking at these bids, and I'm like, there's just no way it costs that to put a couple of heat pumps.
I can call my friends. We do it.
Exactly. So that's exactly what we did. It's like, what black or brown owned HVAC company can we get to come give us an honest assessment? Okay. They came in, looked at it, said, oh yeah, we can do this, this, and the other. As a matter of fact, what you were quoted won't get you what you need because you're going to outgrow this real quick. So we just, the collaborative, we took our little bit of equity money and we just said, we'll just make it happen.
Okay.
Now, we had also gone through the city to make it happen. It's like, the city's got money. There's money in, I guess, HSD to help child care facilities. But the bureaucracy, first, now I need an environmental impact statement. And now I need this. It's like, this business doesn't have the time to chase down the bureaucracy just to check the block, to get a check, to just do what's right. So we just wrote the check. And so she has, AC. So when it got hot this year,
right, you already prepared.
And she sent me an email. It was like, schools sending emails to the district. What do we do? It's over 80 degrees. Are we supposed to shut down? Do we quit? Do we send the kids home? She didn't have to worry about any of that. Her kids, and it's like, that's the kind of stuff that you do. And for me, it's like, if you can do one place, that means we can do all of them.
Yeah, because I've seen, there's a couple places I've seen, and I noticed, I know what Central Area Collaborative is, and I'm like, oh, that's something you guys did too, So I know we talked about something coming up as far as like, you guys are kind of transitioning to the arts, like supporting some of the arts.
Can we
talk about that?
Yeah, it's not so much that we're transitioning to the arts.
Adding in.
Culture is one of our tenets that we're supposed to be, stewarding, looking after, getting involved wherever we can.
Right.
For the most part, I leave that to city's Office of Arts and Culture. I leave that to the artists that are operating in the central area that do that. It's like, it's not my line of expertise. Right. But out of the blue, we were contacted saying, hey, there's a film called The Picture Taker about an African-American gentleman who took a lot of the civil rights photos that you see with Dr. King and Jesse Jackson and all that kind of stuff. And there's a story behind it. And I don't want to give away the climax of it, but was he who he said he was? What was he doing for the federal government, while he was taking these pictures? So somebody, connected to the Central Area Collaborative and said, hey, are you guys interested in hosting this in the Pacific Northwest? Okay. And so we said, yeah, we'll see what that looks like. And then I reached out to you because it's like, I know you're in this media business. It's like, hey, let's make it happen. Let's show that, here's another side of the collaborative. And it's like, I'm not that art guy. It's just not what we do or what I do. Right. But I understand how culture impacts, the community, and anything that we can host to get visibility on what's going on in the central area, period, no matter who's doing it, that's what we're going to do. So we're trying to focus folks into, hey, look, and there's 2 showings. One's on the 27th and one's on the 28th. Okay. The one on the 28th is open to the public, and it's at Langston. And this is 28th of January. So, we've got plenty of time to get the media hype, and hopefully we just want folks to show up just to see this movie. I'm curious. I have the trailer, so I know what it looks like. But yeah, we need to get the trailer out and get it up. But again, one of my weak points on the collaborative is telling our story. And that's kind of why we're here. It's like we got a lot of stories to tell. We just don't have a way to get them out, and we don't think to do that when we're going through the process. We're just really attacking and solving the problem.
And that goes back to another point too, is like, being able to utilize the resources in our community, but actually knowing where the resources are at. I know we had Kun Love on my other podcast, Cafe and Cupcakes with Alvina Willis, and he was on there talking about the very thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening in our community. It's not a lack of things happening. It's just a lack of people knowing about them and knowing how to navigate the systems that are there. And so what we try to do now is try to get you guys access to the resource and understand some of the players out there. Dennis is doing a lot of major stuff out here. Even if you didn't know who he was, he's been doing this stuff. And it's one of the situations too. You have to come to the table when they have meetings, when they do online things. You have to at least show up. So even maybe part of you coming here too will give people access. Like, oh, I didn't know about that. Now I've seen this, and we could do more follow up. I know there's at least a dozen people that I've talked to them about you, and be like, yo, you got to start learning how do you write up a program? Mm-hmm. I talked to many people about that too, where you guys got to understand, if you have an idea, how do you present it to somebody? Nobody can invest in your stuff if you don't have some type of good presentation, and there's certain foundations that you need. And so I've gone through that process with Debrina, and I did that with you. Mm-hmm. And it's like there's not a template per se, but there is like some kind of format that you guys got to follow for people like you and your team to be able to analyze projects and ideas and things of that nature. Can you speak a little bit more about just like that process of what you work on, or how you look at maybe opportunities that you might be able to help somebody with?
Yeah, sure. Let me. I'm gonna pull up my, because I don't ever remember this stuff by heart, but I've got my mission and all that kind of stuff, mm-hmm. and I'll talk to it. So I've got 5 goals, and one of my goals is, it says align ongoing commercial development in the central area with community input. Okay. So economic development. That's the first and foremost why we were even formed in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so basically, the city likes to do a lot of things, but them in a vacuum gets it wrong every time. Right. It's like all you have to do is go down to the community, any organization, not just a collaborative. Go talk to Bird Bar, go talk to Africa Down Black Top, and mm-hmm. find out the best way to solve that problem before you go down a path that's not going to work, and we would have told you that it wasn't going to work in the first place. Right. So that's goal 1. Goal 2 is establish, retain, and grow independent micro and small businesses in the central area. Anything that helps me do that, I'm looking at it as a potential project. Mm-hmm. Increase job training and social services for special populations living and working in the central area. Have not done very well at that at all. Okay. But we started, and I'll talk about that later. Yeah. Goal 4. Develop a thriving, high-quality, and educational food ecosystem reflective of the African diaspora. We've really taken that one on because we've helped all of the small food businesses, Catfish Corner, all those folks. That didn't happen in a vacuum. There were folks behind that, Seattle University, Miss Lillian's. We were making sure they were getting the tenant improvement funds. So when the city Office of Economic Development says, hey, we want to pay for food businesses to get this, that, and the other, we were kind of directing who that should go to, who in the community had longevity and had the skill set, and they just needed a little boost. And that's why you see in the Vulcan building, that's why you see Simply Soulful in there.
Oh yeah, you did say that to me. Okay, right. And I think that's also part of the thing. Like, you guys don't get credit for it, because sometimes people just think, oh, it just happened. Like, no, there's somebody behind the scenes, and there's a group of people and organizations that maybe you don't know of that are actually working in our benefit, that deserve to have a higher profile, and also awareness for people to get access to resources and understanding. Like, there are other groups, and not there's enough groups out here. There's probably not enough groups, but there's enough people out here that need things, and there's enough groups that can help supply the need, but they have to know about where to go. Right. And you can't go, not everybody can go to one place.
Oh, absolutely. And for us, it's like, I'm a strong believer. Everybody can't do everything well. Right. So for me, it's like, if I can't do it, I'm pushing that off to somebody else. It's like, unless I see a void, a lot of times the things that we get involved in are because they're voids. So like, if I go back to my goal number 3, increasing job training and social services. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, the city finally gave back some of the community property. Africa Town got Fire Station 6. Oh, okay. The Central Area Senior Center went back to the Central Area Senior, so they own. I guess they're gonna have the deed to it, or they own it. Okay. The Senior Center, it's not. FAS doesn't own it, or the city department, and Bird Bar. Mm-hmm. So these these community organizations, they now own their property, which is the start
that's
of
huge,
generation.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and
They can't get kicked out now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in the case of the senior center, you know, when I talked to Diane Ferguson, you know, and it was years ago, you know, I don't talk to these folks every day, but she was talking about they were going to do a renovation. They're going to need a new roof and this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what? We've got Green New Deal, and I'm on the Green New Deal board. I used to be in Environmental Justice Committee. It's like,
Okay.
who's watching out for the central area neighborhoods on all thing energy, Department of Energy, and all that money that's going to come in there? And I'm looking around. There's nobody. There's nobody whose mission is environmental climate protection that I know of in the central area. It's just just even aware. And so I'm like, well, how can we help? Well, say how about the senior center getting solar panels, because they got like a whole flat roof of
I've been there before.
Yeah, and it's like, look how many panels you could put up here.
Yeah.
Now you guys come off the grid, so to speak. You generate your own power. You lower your bill.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, how does that happen? So we're thinking about it, and it's like, well, wait, who do we know that does solar? Well, we've got, you know, Edwin Wanji, who's got Sphere Solar, African American gentleman. You know, it's like black owned. It's like, why am I not connecting the black owned solar energy company with the senior center? So we got that connected. I reached out to, I forget, it was Spark Northwest and a young lady named Michaela Gonzalez, and I met her years ago in environmental, and she's like, I can find some grants. So there's probably like $250,000 worth of grants that she was able to get. So they're going to get solar power at some point in time, and Sphere Solar is going to get that work.
And see, this is what I want to segue.
And nobody knows it, but when it happens, it's like, how did that happen?
And this is stuff that I tell people about. People think I'm crazy because I have all these different ideas. I'm like, no, you don't understand. There's so many opportunities out there, and you can't do everything. Me even having the knowledge of that and be like, yo, this is what I heard. This is what's going on. You might want to go talk to this person about this, because this is not my thing. This might be an opportunity for you. You know, so I'm always looking at it from a standpoint of hunter-gatherer type of situation. Like, we all need to be out there doing our hunting and gathering and bring it back to the table. This might not be for me, but this is for that person over here. But if you brought something to the table, maybe that was for me. And we just kind of switch it around. And I think that's what's missing. And that's why I'm, even for me personally, trying to be like a conduit of connection. Like, okay, you got Dennis doing his thing over here. What about this person? Like, I have people I want to connect you with. A lady that does empanadas, and there's a friend of mine that has a small business that hasn't been built out yet. She's going to come on the podcast too. But I'm like, you got movie premieres. Like, could somebody maybe sample? Maybe they don't get paid to do catering, but you all can slip in there and do some sampling.
Absolutely.
I'm doing marketing, so I could take pictures. You know how big that would make your brand look? And it's free advertising. Like, you can't get no better than that.
Yeah, and we have no problem with it. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and those are the things I talk to people about, and they're just looking at me like, oh, you know, that doesn't, okay, how do you... I was like, man, just come to the table. Just come to the table. Listen.
Exactly. It's like we will figure out where you need to go.
Yeah.
And what how you can plug in. And like I said, I don't own the space. It's like, once I made the connection between Sphere Solar, Diane Ferguson in the center, and Michaela with Spark Northwest before she left, I was out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I got nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing to do with it.
So people,
What's going to happen?
Yeah, you got to pay attention to what's going on in our community. And I noticed this too. Like, a friend of mine recently just said this to me. And I already know this to be true because I used to go to meetings down at the whole Seattle waterfront. I used to go to meetings all the time, and there wasn't that many of us in our community there. And I used to go to the Port of Seattle meetings a lot. And once again, it'd only be a certain group of people there. And I got some African friends that have the African Chamber of Commerce. They're at all those meetings, and I know that because I know them. They brought me to some meetings, and I'm like, and they've even made comments like, "Where's your Black American, African American Chamber of Commerce situation down there?" I know we have people in our community doing things like that, but I just think more of us have to start making to these meetings. And one of the things from my other experience in government is that if we couldn't even go, you couldn't go, I couldn't go, we should at least be able to start thinking about pulling our resources together. Go hire some young person.
Right.
Go hire some college kid, go down to these meetings, pay these people, you know, on a yearly basis, $50,000 a year to make all these meetings and take up the notes and do whatever they got to do to push that information to our community. That way we're in the know, because it's right now what I see, a flood of money and resources are coming through, and nobody knows about this stuff.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of that, and I don't know if some of that's by design, but I don't know if it's some of us in our own arrogance. It's like if it's not what I want to do, and I'm not doing it the way I've planned it out, I'm not going to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But we've addressed the problem that you said about, one of the other things that we looked at doing was, I'm an old guy. You can see all of this. It's like I'm not going.
I got it too, though. I've been letting my grow out.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here forever. It's like,
Yeah.
where do I bring the young folks? So,
Yeah.
a couple years, 3 years ago, we had, we still have a community navigator, but our community navigator was coming out of Seattle U, owned his business. It's Gavin Amos,
Okay.
Cafe of Old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so he was trailing us, seeing how we did things. He was coming to our meetings, and he had a project. He's like, what's missing is we don't have enough of these interns and students shadowing real business owners, and and understanding what it takes. And so I said, well, you need to write that plan.
See,
he did it.
Yep.
He wrote the plan. We kind of stewarded it. We submitted as an EDI. He got $50,000.
Nice.
And so he has somebody at the Postman. He had like 4 or 5 students. He had somebody from University of Washington helped him write the program. He got paid for that.
Yeah.
And it was like, and for us, it was like, it showed that it could be done.
Right.
He learned this is the bureaucracy of government. Right. Everything doesn't work the way you want it to work when you want it. This is what it takes to get reimbursable money. Mm-hmm. All of that. Now he's back over at Avole running a business, but it was his idea. We gave the space for
Solomon.
Yes, him and Solomon. But him and Solomon.
Oh, him and Solomon. Okay.
But it was Gavin that was coming into the collaborative and helping out and going and he was also finding out what was going on with all the small businesses. He was going door to door up Cherry, all those little places when they were just starting, especially during the pandemic. And it was like seeing all of that. It's like, and that's the other thing. Are we giving our youth or anybody that wants to be involved real things that they can sink their teeth into versus, oh, here's this little course, here, go do this, that, and the other, check the block, they get their certificate and can't do anything with it. Yeah. I'm a strong believer in if you're going to work, at least with the collaborative, you're going to have something to show at the end of it from experience, from connections. I mean, everybody's time is valuable. And it's like, we don't need to waste anybody's. So
yeah, I definitely believe that because I've had a lot of jobs, and I was also vice president of Inroads, and so with that, I represented the whole Western region, and we had internships. I had my internship at Key Bank, King County, and then I left there and I got my own internship, a couple in Bellevue, technology internships. But it's like those internships are so valuable, and it's not so much what I learned at the internship; it's the connections of people that I got to interact with. I used to hang out with the vice president over at Key Bank in private banking and go on lunch meetings with high level net worth clients in the Seattle area. And I'd just be a fly on the wall just to have that experience. I still draw off that experience to this day. There's a guy named Rick Shelby. He retired recently, but he was a black dude in technology back when real networks was like 15 cents. I was at the meeting with him when he gave the information to this lawyer down at Pike Place Market. I didn't remember all this stuff, and he's still a friend of mine after all these years. And it's one of those things where I was a young 19-year-old kid, think I knew everything, and I quickly realized I don't know anything about anything, but I learned to listen a lot better and pay attention, and it's lasted all this time, so
but
the internship's great.
But, first of all, I would say our youth or younger folks, number one, they have to have it in them to want to learn.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah,
it's like I can't bring you to the collaborative, or if somebody knocked on the door and said, "Hey, teach me some stuff," I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah,
it's like, why are you here?
Spike Lee was at UW, and
what, really?
Yeah, it was years ago. It has to be at least 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I remember going to he was at the auditorium, and it was packed house, and a young white lady, young white student, walked in. Or we were all sitting down, but she stood up and talked about it. And she was so happy to talk to him, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he shut her down real quick, and he didn't do it in a mean way. He was just trying to be factual. He's like, "Oh, okay, you're really happy about being in film school?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just love da 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 da." And he was like, "Okay, so how many movies did you make?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "How many movies did you make? Have you made already?" And she's like, "Well, that's why I'm in film school." He's like, "Okay, so you have a laptop and you have a phone?" "Yeah, they gave us a laptop." "And I have a phone, of course. Everybody has a laptop. I mean, a phone." And he's like, "Okay, so how many movies have you made?" And she's like, just looking like, what? And
Didn't
everybody in
get
the
it.
audience is like, oh, shoot.
Yep.
And he broke it down. Like, he only went to film school because, you know, he had to get access to the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live in that era no more. I got phones, you got this stuff. You know, we don't need to go anywhere to get the information now, the tools. It's just a matter of us putting things together.
Yep.
School might be more for networking, and you got to learn knowledge. You don't have to go that route. You can go whatever route you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not doing it anyway, just like you said, you have to be willing to do this and already have a passion about it. You can't just be one day wake up, I'm going to do this. Like, no, you should have already been doing this. If you want to learn, you can learn from people, but they can't make you do things.
Well, we have a lot of folks who do believe, because of the YouTube and instant gratification of the internet, that, oh, I can wake up today and just make $1 million.
Yeah, okay.
What? Well, the issue is the opportunity.
Yeah.
1,000 times, you're absolutely right, than it was maybe 10 years
ago.
Yeah. The probability, that's a whole different number.
Yeah, I think now, I had a conversation with about movies, and you know, I'm in a plug for Anthony Townsend. I'm in his movie. It's the Book of Judas, and I'm just a small person in the movie. I just got a small part, but the opportunity is great for everybody that's in it, because you get your acting credits, you get a chance to be around these people, really smart folks. But I had to show up. You know, I had to show up, had to be there, be present, be ready to go. And a lot of people just want the opportunity. Like, I want to get in a movie. I want to do this. Like, but to segue, I have a lot of friends that will talk about what they want to do, but I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to move to LA. And then you're going to start something, right? That'll make no sense. So you're not going to do nothing in the Seattle area, in this smaller market, and you want to go into a shark-infested environment where people are hungry, that are sleeping on floors, doing what they got to do to get the opportunity, and you're not even doing nothing in your own backyard. I said, good luck on that.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I don't know if that's the segue into that topic of.
Oh yeah, I guess it is.
the Northwest Negro.
Yeah, I didn't say it, but he said it.
Because I'm not from here.
Yeah. So
and I recognize it.
Yeah. So I lived in New York in 2000, and I'm from Spokane. I was born in Spokane, and I was raised in the Central District during the crack era, and I've seen a lot of different things like everybody else. But living in New York changed everything. I went to New York when I was 25. I was a little older when I graduated college at UW Business School, and I worked at technology, high-level technology. They paid me a lot of money, paid for everything in New York. I worked with Mark Bell. He's worth about $800 million now, 700 from around there. And let's see this. Yeah, we're still good.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure it's still recording. For all y'all, we try to do everything, this technology thing, and I went back to my basics. Right. Got a camera, and I got my phone recording the sound, because everything else was just not working correctly. So anyways, so I got a chance to see and be around before Amazon is Amazon. We were doing that 20 years ago now, 20-some years ago. So seeing all that and seeing just how business works and seeing opportunities and seeing how much hungry people really are in New York versus when I came back to Seattle. And I remember telling friends, man, we're in trouble. So we are in trouble, man. If we don't get our stuff together and other people from other places start realizing Seattle's a great place to live and all the stuff we got here, y'all about to be taken out.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's happening. I mean, I got friends that will admit to it and say, and my friends not from here notice it right away. They're like, yo, this is a situation where you guys need to step it up. You guys don't know what competition really looks like. Right. It's not that we're not smart. We're very intelligent. But the get up and go about us, not everybody, but I'm in business, and I consult with a lot of small businesses with Debrina Jackson Gandy. We see it. Like, you're not hungry enough to get this $3,000. How are you going to get the $1 million?
Right.
So
absolutely. So so my take on it, not being from Seattle, and it's really interesting because I would say in 1988, I was a brand new second lieutenant at Fort Lewis, now Joint Base Lewis McChord. So I've been in this region from 1988 to 1992. I went to Desert Storm out of this region.
Okay.
And I will tell you, the Seattle I knew then and the Seattle I see now is 180 degrees reverse. It's like there is nothing that I recognize, because there was some Charlie hustle. There was a black population. The central area, when Sir Mix-a-Lot came out with My Posse's on Broadway,
Right.
we loved it because I could get in my motorcycle, roll straight up I-5, get off at MLK, and follow every turn in that song, seeing Dick's, seeing the Taco Bell. It's like, oh man, we live in that lifestyle as a lieutenant. So you're talking about from 22 to 26 years old. I was here watching, Seattle evolve.
Shout out to Sir Mix-a-Lot and shout out to
absolutely.
Kiss Sensation. I know he'll be watching. Kiss Sensation will be watching.
Yeah,
he's dope.
So so you figure I'm a soldier, I'm a lieutenant, I'm an officer down there, and then they come out with Gore-Tex. We all wearing Gore-Tex because that's what the Army's issue was. So it's like we were really in tune with what the vibe was in Seattle.
I remember Gore-Tex. That was that's high end stuff.
Exactly. Ken Griffey Jr. just got to the. I remember when Sean Kemp and all them were playing. It's like. That was my lifestyle in 88 to 92.
Yeah, actually, during that time, we had Seattle was like a different beast. Like,
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people that like Kun Love. I mean, we had a lot of nighttime stuff going on, a lot of promotion stuff going on. We had a lot of business stuff going on.
Yeah.
I do know some of the quote unquote entrepreneur and hustler guys. Those guys are still doing stuff, but like you said though, it's been. The collective group has not risen to where we could be, and I think it's time to do that.
Absolutely.
Not to downplay what we do out here, but I do think that if you compare some of the things we have here to other places, we're just not as competitive. And I say that for my personal self. Like I was in the Black MBA conference in New Orleans and also in Orlando. Orlando, I think I was there in 2004, and then maybe 2008 when I graduated. I was at the other one. The one in, whatever one it was, both of them, the level of smart Black folks, beautiful women, and super intelligent dudes that are like, I'm 6'2", 240, thinking I'm something. Okay, these dudes are yoked up, chiseled out, Stanford grad, Harvard grad, MBA, got the PhD, and they're super humble. They don't even talk about it. I heard it through these other people, and they're just sitting there just chopping it up. I'm like, that's the dude with all those patents you're talking about. Like, I'm hearing this. And I'm looking at myself like, I'm not chopped liver, but you know what? I need to do a little bit better. How I was dressed wasn't as up to par. Like, I need to get my stuff a little tighter, a little more tailored. And it's just looking and paying attention to your competition and the people around you. Like, we can all up level a little bit.
But I think when I use my Northwest Negro moniker, that's the difference. On the East Coast, when you're in New York, when you're in DC, Philly, all up and down that East Coast corridor, where the seat of government is in DC, there's a whole level of expectation. Like I said, guys go to work dressed. Everybody's suit and tie. Everybody, everybody's hair is done. And when you come out and when you're in that environment, you know what it takes and you see what it gets you. When you're dealing with non-minority organizations, entities, international, it's like you know what you have to be. Out in Seattle, because you don't see that, you don't know to emulate that. That's so true. You think what you have is good enough because it's able to pass here. But it's not, like I said, our collective is not getting anywhere. And that's why, because it doesn't know what, it's like we all have Black excellence. But until you see Black excellence in operation at a real level, at passing policy, you're sitting on Connecticut Avenue talking to somebody, come to find out that's the clerk or the page for Pelosi. And all of a sudden you see what it takes to be there and how things get really done in America. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh. And I would say here, folks are complacent. And that's how you get, when we're doing, I hear a lot about, they're taking our homes, gentrification, and it's happening. And like you alluded to earlier, what stops Black Seattle from saying city council, we put a moratorium on predatory, whatever that is, in the central area, period, in the story. Or ordinance. When somebody sells a piece of property, you take out the restrictive covenant stuff. That stuff that's still in there from 1800, it just happens automatically. When you do the title and all that kind of stuff, all restrictive covenant language just comes out when the new person gets it. It's never even there. That's an ordinance. That's simple. Why haven't we done it? There should not be any more. But what have we done to make that so? All it is a matter of folks, everybody going to City Hall and say, hey, look, every time property transfers in the central area or the city, period, all restrictive covenant language comes out.
I just think people just don't know. I just think people I think like what you said is that we have a small group of Black folks in general, population-wise, percentage-wise, and then if you divvy up that population, we all have our different interests. So I think we don't have enough numbers to be like, how many Black doctors do we have here? I know a few. My doctor is actually Black. Right. My friend is a Black doctor, but there's not that many, and I know 4. Now, I'm sure there's not too many people probably even know 4 Black doctors out here. Right. And let alone even have a Black doctor for themselves. I have one, but I'm sure most people don't.
You're absolutely right.
And I'm sitting here like, we just need more and more. Like, we need a pipeline, more engineers. We need more of this. But then since we don't have all that, I think that's where the gap is, because a lot of us, if I'm not going to the meetings and learning more about what these situations is, that's not even my interest maybe. But it better be. Right. Because out here, you don't have enough people to say, you know what, we got our Black doctor over here. I'm a farmer. I'm a this. We got enough folks to come to the table. We don't have enough people out here to do that. So I have to wear maybe double hats and learn about something that maybe it's not interesting to me, but I need to know about housing policy. Right. I was on the phone actually with our friend, I think Raquel. Okay. No, it's not Raquel, Rachel.
Rachel Stewart.
Yeah. Okay. I was talking to her.
She's working at what is it?
She just said it. SFA or
SHA.
SHA.
Yes,
yeah,
housing.
Yeah, SHA. So I was talking to her because I had an idea, and I talked to her about the idea I sent to you, and I was just kind of get some backdrop. That's not my world. I know what I know, but I need to go get some expertise. So I don't mind making a phone call to my vast network and like, yo, can I sit with you and talk for about an hour? Yeah, she said cool, and we talked for about an hour. She just gave me background stuff. I said I'm having you on the show, which is now, and I called up my friend Marcia. She was the one that we were all together, and she's the one that worked at Microsoft in the real estate stuff. Well, she was living here when COVID started, so I was just like, how are you doing? But I also want to know more about real estate world and development. I don't know it all. I'm okay with not knowing it all. There's experts in our field, and I think that's also part of the issue. I think even Debrina said this too. It's like, we can't be arrogant and think that we can compete with people that have better systems in place and better networks. It's not that they're smarter, they just have a tighter network. Right. And we need to start reaching out to each other and realize, yo, if I'm gonna call somebody in this area, let me call Dennis. Like, he knows it, but you got to know about Dennis first of all. But you also have to be not arrogant enough to think that you know it all and that he can't enlighten you on something. Right. You know.
Yeah, and I think when we worked together with the business 101 with Debrina, it was like I had met Debrina back in those lieutenant days.
Oh yeah.
So that's like 20-something years ago. Hadn't seen her since I moved out of here in '92. Yeah. So when you connected me and say, "Oh, I got somebody that does this business stuff," Debrina, I was like, "Wait, is that the same? That can't be the same person." Yeah. Sure enough. And so when I'm writing a check, who am I writing a check to? Yeah. You and Debrina. Yeah. Because this is the service I need. Y'all are the expertise. You have the experience. Yeah. Why would I not take a chance? Or why would I hire somebody? Why? Right. You're from the community. You know the community, and you know the small businesses. They connected with you all. Right. Because you're telling the stories that they need to hear from the same perspective. You're not a white male telling them what it's like to be Black in business. Right. You're Black in business and you know what it's like. And so they're hearing it from somebody who cares and who can give, and a lot of it is just a connection. So,
yeah. So, y'all, I mean, we've talked about 40-some minutes and we appreciate it. Dennis is a great resource. You guys definitely need to understand what Central Area Collaborative is about. Hopefully you got a little taste of what is going on in the city, who some of the major players are. Dennis is a major player. Even if he wouldn't say that, I will say it. We talked about Northwest Negro. That is something that actually I'll probably have some follow-up with because we have our own identity, good and bad. We have things that we could work on. We got things that are really good about us and things that we're great at. And there's other things that we need to do a little bit better on. And it comes better when we understand the perspective of people don't live here and say, hey, what do you think about how could we improve? You being from another place and you've seen how things work. How is it that the Northwest Black folks out here can work better? How do you think that we can come together and maybe strengthen up our own community? And that's why I appreciate you, because you come from a different mindset and you weren't born and raised here. And you've been in enough places, being in the military and other places, you bring a certain level of discipline too, that a lot of people just don't have or don't understand what it might take to compete in this new Northwest environment we're in, because we're not in the same Northwest that I grew up in. It's definitely changed.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. Well, and I say thanks for having me. Like I said, hopefully this is just the first of a whole bunch of other topics and things that are going on. As far as the Central Area Collaborative, we have a website. It's mediocre at best. like I said, not my strong suit.
Yeah.
There's probably definitely better ways to use the social media. This interview is one of the ways we're gonna test that theory out.
Yeah.
And just look us up. We've got a couple of funding projects out there that we're trying to get funded. I would talk to one of them. It's called the Banner Project. Basically, if you've been down Othello, as you're going down MLK, they got the banners up. Welcome, and it's in different languages and all that.
Oh yeah.
We're looking to do the same thing, in the central area as you're going down 23rd. It's from Rainier all the way to Madison. Just banners talking about, who's here, what's here. Just giving our people awareness, because like I said, with the gentrification and all that.
Yeah.
When we went through the pandemic, all the black businesses that tried to stay open and as long as they could before, there were mandates to shut down and this and the other. They were like, the problem was nobody was coming to support them because they didn't know who they were, because it was new folks.
Right.
So they was like, I have no loyalty to the Central Area Juice Bar.
Right.
I don't know who that is. I have no loyalty to. And we're like, well, what we need is placemaking. It's like we need to let folks know this is the contributions of black folks throughout the Central Area that made it what it is today.
Yeah.
And we need to have those reminders on banners down Main Street. So, this is Garfield. This is Atlantic. This is Judkins Park.
Right.
These were the contributions. So we've got that project being funded. We've got some other stuff. We've got a homeowner stabilization grant. Again,
okay,
not my lane. But the old folks were saying, hey, we need repairs and we don't have any money and nobody's coming to do it. We've partnered with the nonprofit that does that. Went to the city and wrote a grant for, a couple of $100,000 and got the grant. It's like, that's not my lane. But nobody's helping the seniors get their stuff. So now it's getting done. They've got a place to call. They qualify. They get the work done. It's not costing them anything.
See, that's what we're talking about. There's so many different things that most people wouldn't even know about, but it's like once you plug in, you start understanding who Dennis is, who the Central Area Collaboratives, and who other groups in our community are. Maybe then you start figuring how can you fit yourself into those things. Like I hear business ideas when I hear this type of stuff. Oh, wait, what? Oh, let me start a business in that environment. Those are the things I think, we need more people to start understanding. Like there's so many things outside of the 9-to-5 job, which is fine. But there's little opportunities here and there that people can really maximize, especially in the world that we live in now. There's a lot of funding coming out when you have these recessions and situations of COVID and or pandemics and all these other turmoil things. A lot of money gets flown out.
Yep,
it gets pushed out, and most of the time we're not getting it.
None of it. Those that are aware are getting it, and those that are aware, I think in our case, are not telling others because we see it as a scarcity. It's like, man, there's so much money for everybody to do their own thing. And I will tell you, one of the things I'll say, and this is my last comment on the Northwest Negro, is a lot of, Ed's talking about me, being the executive director of the Central Area Collaborative, and you're hearing all the things that we do and we were responsible for or help shape. Understand, I still have a full-time day job as a federal government employee. I've never given up my day job.
Yeah.
This is on top of.
Yeah.
So we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The question is, how efficient and how much heart do you have to take on the passion of the community?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people got to dig in deep, and then, the excuses are like falling by the wayside, because it's like, you can't really use the excuse. Like, for example, I'll give you one good example. A young lady, I forget her name right now, but she sells empanadas. I'm going to introduce you to her. She sells empanadas, and she's really dope. She's from Florida. She's I don't want to say it wrong, but she's Dominican or Puerto Rican. I don't want to. I know there's two different. I know.
You're unknown on that one.
I know. So she's somewhere in between. But the thing is, she's really good at what she does. She's humble. She's really smart, and she's open to listening to opportunities and criticism or critiques or anything like that. So one of the guys out here who is a chef, he just gave her some information on the empanadas. Hey, you might want to add some of these sauces, And she didn't be like, she could have took it as like, how dare you give me advice about my stuff. But she took it as like, she took notes and asked questions. I was watching her. And because of the way she interacted with him and took information in, I was like, Yeah, let me introduce her to Dennis because I was thinking like, well, I know how you are, and I know what it might take for somebody to be able to work with you guys and have their stuff together. So, is she willing to do what she needs to do to get the opportunity? It sounds like she likes to listen. She looks like she's trying to grow because I've seen her for enough time. The food is good,
Nice.
so it's like she has the foundation for something really to get bigger, but and she has to have the mindset to want to do those things, and it seems like she does. So it's like, okay, now I can, because I'm not a gatekeeper per se, but I just don't throw people to people that I care about.
Right.
Like, oh, here you go. They're like, you didn't filter nobody out.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're right. The gatekeeping mentality in Seattle is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like I've never seen so much crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
And I'm looking all over the world. I mean, not just domestic, but international, being a retired Army officer.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But the collaborative does have a food incubator. It was an experiment last year. It was like, hey, how can we get some of these folks that don't have kitchen space access to the little bit of kitchen space that the collaborative at least knows exists? And so this person that you're talking about might be perfect. As a matter of fact, my wife is making empanadas today for a venue. I think it's at El Centro from 5 to 10 tonight.
Oh, that's today.
That's today.
Oh, that's right.
So
I
it's
didn't
like,
there. I forgot I'll be out there.
It could have just easily been this lady
Yeah.
providing that, had we known, so yeah, there's opportunity.
And so, I could talk like this all day because one thing about Dennis, he's always full of information and he's actually doing the stuff though. So a lot of people will be talking stuff like, a lot of people just be talking stuff and you be finding out they ain't doing nothing.
Right.
Dennis is doing like a whole bunch of stuff that he don't even talk about. It's like the opposite.
Yeah, I forgot more of this.
Yeah, and all the people and all the different things we haven't even tapped into that, but. We're gonna stop this because we're almost at an hour. So hopefully you guys' attention span can last this long. But there's a lot of great nuggets in this. And like I said before, we're gonna keep on having have Dennis here on a regular basis. What I would love to do is have some community folks that are regulars that come through, do their thing. I've already been working with Dennis. So I hope to work with the Central Area Collaborative, help them with marketing and help them build their platform too as I build my platform. But if you're also a small business or a community person, not just in the Black and brown space, but we're definitely making space for that. We want to talk to you, want to help you get your voice out there, help you connect the dots, because I know a lot of people too. And there's going to be things that Motivate Life does in partnership with the Jabrina Jackson Gandhis, with the Dennises, with a lot of different groups that I've been a part of.
Seattle University. I mean,
I went to Seattle U. I'm a Seattle U alum,
and
and UW,
and I will tell you, I know we need to cut this off, but Seattle University is in the central area.
Yeah,
it's all, and they've come to the realization that they've not done enough for the Black and brown in the community. And right now, well, last year they started, probably before that, but they made some big inroads in changing their procurement policies within the university itself, so that way Black and brown businesses that can do anything that's good, that's being done or being provided by Seattle U, can now get in.
I forgot about that.
We're creating portals, and it's like basically,
I got a construction company.
Exactly.
And
they had a lot of work, and there were no Black folks building that new building on Marion.
Yeah, and this is why that's why I try to tell all my friends, like, I literally I don't know it all, but I know a lot of people.
Right.
And I'm like, I hear it all the time. I'm like, look, I got a construction company for a reason, because when the opportunity comes, I've already been doing it. Yes, I'm good. I did all my remodel stuff, but I can't do these big construction projects. Right. I know other people that if we had a force of group of people, we could bid for some of these smaller projects and come together. A data analyst company, I've worked with you. I know data analysts pretty well. What if other people, we can combine force and get a bigger contract? Like, there's so many different opportunities.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are just not listening. Like, if you listen to what he said, you should be taking notes and be like, Seattle U, procurement,
Right. But as I stated in the beginning, our job is to set the foundation and the strategic, trajectory such that you guys can take advantage of the opportunities later.
Yeah.
So I'm blowing up roads and clearing a path. But it's there. There is a procurement that did not exist before. There's now focus on it. So now it's a matter of the community coming to Seattle U and say, hey, where's this? I heard this. What's going on with procurement? Do you need anybody that's, painting? You need anybody that's taking out the trash?
Yeah.
Need anybody cleaning up the space after night? Who knows?
Hope you guys are listening.
So that's going on as we speak. And there's folks that are actively pursuing and making it happen as we're talking right now. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting tomorrow, Monday, at Seattle U, 3 hours. talking just this.
And y'all,
How
Dennis
do we
don't play.
expand?
Dennis
Yes.
don't play. When he's doing stuff, it's really happening. So it's like,
Right.
if you don't pay attention,
real
the
time.
opportunity be gone.
Right. It's real time. It's real time. So anyway,
just want to give out one shout out. I wore this on purpose because if you guys don't know, D'Amico Parker, I grew up with his brother E.C. Parker. He was my first friend across the street from 22nd Yesler. A little kid from Spokane, didn't know anything. They befriended me. D'Amico wasn't even there. I used to be able to play Nintendo with his brother EC, and so he has a company, and I think the company's name is Two Stitch, but I don't know. I got to look at that again, but I know it's D'Amico Parker who I got this from, and this was during the night of another friend of mine, Doomy. He goes by Dre's. He was doing music. He's down in LA now, but he's big time. He does music all around the world now, and he's from the Central District too. So those two of my friends I wanted to represent for my first thing. So, anyways, that's our show, Motivated Life. We're in the Motivated Life studios. We're still building, still growing, but I'm back to being more consistent, and I want to have people, since we're kind of past some of the COVID issues, people can come through to the studio. I have 3 different areas to film in here, and it's very convertible space. Still working on the back area. So if you guys are interested in being on the show, hit me up. You definitely need to check out Dennis and his program, the Central Area Collaborative. We'll send all the links and stuff like that when we put this out. And you need to follow up. Hope you took notes. And we'll be back to talk about more stuff later. But that's it. Thank you.
Cool.
Perfect.
Interesting enough, you said